We want to welcome everybody. We want to welcome everybody here today. We're here to celebrate Sukkot, also known as the Feast of Tabernacles and Booths. It actually began September 30th on Sunday at 6 p.m. and it will run through Monday at 6 p.m. October 8th. So we're towards the end of it. We're going to begin the information talking about the modern observance, and then we're going to break for a meal, and then I'll do a teaching on the ancient observance. And one of the things that the feasts do is help you when you're reading the Bible to know what's actually going on and picture in your mind the things that are happening when you're reading the Bible. I would like to take a moment to say something. We've had two brothers go home this week. Charlie Sheehan and Rod Snyder. And I don't know that Charlie actually knew anything about celebrating the feast, and I doubt that he ever did, but I know Rod was knowledgeable and really enjoyed attending the feast. But one thing I am certain of, they are both celebrating today.
Hallelujah.
They're celebrating with joy unspeakable. And at this particular feast, God gave the command to rejoice. So we need to rejoice along with Charlie and Rod. They would begin the announcement of the feast by blowing the shofar.
Hallelujah.
Thank you, Jesus.
And then they would always do a blessing before they entered their little sukkah shack building. It says, "We praise you, O Lord our God, King of the universe, who has instructed us to rejoice in this feast and gather together in this place. May we know your peace in these days ahead and be altogether joyful." And then the woman would light the candles. And she always blessed them. It says, "These candles represent Jesus, the light of the world." Jesus said that we are the light of the world. He said, "Let your light shine before men in such a way that they may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven." As we light these candles and set them to give light to all who are in this house, light our lives with the great love for your Son, Jesus, in whose name we pray. There were 3 times during the year that God commanded the children of Israel to assemble at Jerusalem: the Feast of Unleavened Bread, the Feast of Weeks, and the Feast of Tabernacles. All 3 of these dealt with times of harvest. The Feast of Unleavened Bread was when the barley ripened. The Feast of Weeks was the wheat harvest. And the Feast of Tabernacles was when everything else became ready to harvest. There were 3 pilgrimage feasts, but they were not separate events. It was a continual telling of the story of the Israelites' departure from Egypt, the receiving of the Torah, and their journey through the wilderness for 40 years. The festival of Sukkot symbolizes several main principles. First, it's a reminder that the children of Israel wandered in the wilderness, living in temporary structures. And when you build your sukkah, you need to sit in it. You declare your faith in God that He will keep His promise to guide us into our permanent land in heaven. It's a reminder of the temporary endurance of material buildings. The buildings of this world do not last forever. They will come to an end at some time. Remember God's goodness and to be thankful for it. Our Thanksgiving Day actually grew out of this festival. And as they also call it the festival of ingathering. When they harvest the fall crops, it's also God's harvest of His children at the end times. So we're anticipating the time when we will spend the millennial kingdom with Him. And they gave guidelines for building the sukkahs. It should not be a very strong structure, but a flimsy one. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob all lived in tents, like a visitor. The roof should only be lightly covered. They want the stars and the moon and everything to filter through it, to remind us that nothing will ever separate us from God's love. And they would decorate it with all type of produce, the fall leaves and whatever they would harvest, and they would decorate it. And, you know, most of the times when I've seen pictures of them, I thought most of them are just kind of little shack-like things. But I was given this book by a very good friend of mine. And it has some pictures in here, and one they refer to as the garden sukkah. And I don't know how well you can see it, but it looks like a little gazebo with the lattice work. And I mean, they've got the table all set, you know, with the nice dishes. And that one's got a big bowl of grapes in the center. So I mean, they really, it's not just like camping. They really fix it up nice. There's two more pictures in here, which I thought were kind of neat. This one is called Sukkah by the Sea. And look how they decorated it with all the fancy starfish and the shells and the fancy decorations. But it's actually, it's a structure because it's just a wooden frame with like sheets around it, and then it does have the lattice or leaf type structure on the roof. The third one is really uptown. It's called the Penthouse Sukkah. And the lights inside, they have Christmas lights, like the rope lights or Christmas lights around the edge, and the chandelier looking things are paint cans that they painted gold and punched holes in them and put their lights inside there. So it's you can do a lot with it. You can actually buy like a prefab kit for the sukkahs, but they always wanted something for the roof. And this is some of the structures that they use for the roof. They'll either take the bamboo, like you do for the cover your windows and stuff with, or just branches or anything is what they would do a lot of times for the roof of it. But I just thought that book had some really neat pictures in it that I wanted to share. Because most of the time I picture a little shack with a kind of a thatched looking roof, you know, and you get like camping, you know, you stick a little table in there with camping type stuff, and you don't really see it really fixed up like that.